Definitely a purple tooth day today. You coming, Willow? I got myself a selfie stick. Good morning. Good morning, bud. You looking for a drink? Hey, he's a handsome boy. He's a handsome boy. There you go. Good morning, Harry. You can have a little drink. Are you gonna have a little drink? Yeah. This is about, I guess he'd be about 9 weeks old today. Yeah, did the 9-week-old boy bunny. Yes. Hi everyone. Okay, so today I'm in the kitchen and I'm doing two things. I'm making some lotion bars. Lotion bars are something I typically maybe make once a year because they last so long. I use it as a chapstick. You can use it on your elbows, you can use it on your knees, you can use it on your feet. You can pretty much use it anywhere. It's just a few simple ingredients. And the beeswax hardens it up so that it becomes a bar. Sometimes I add cocoa butter just because the smell is just divine. And I don't put any essential oils in these. A lot of the people that buy these from me like them because there's no flavor, especially if they're using it on their lips. They don't want any taste, they don't want any scent. And so I just keep it like that. But the cocoa butter smells beautiful. The beeswax smells beautiful. It's pretty much all you need. It is 1 cup of coconut oil. This is typically the coconut oil I buy. I buy it from Costco. It is a cold pressed, unrefined, additive free, organic coconut oil. Beeswax. If you are lucky enough to know a beekeeper, sometimes you can get big chunks like this. This is actually quite crude. A lot of times they sell them in little discs that are fancy. You can also order them online. This is a Manuka beeswax. You can get beeswax pellets, which are very easy to work with because you have to measure this stuff out. This, while it smells wonderful and it was very inexpensive, I have to use a hammer and a chisel, so it can be labor intensive. But when I'm only making it like once or twice a year, it's not a big deal. So there's a cup of coconut oil, a cup of the beeswax, and then a cup of shea butter. Actually comes from a tree that grows in Africa. And it is wonderful. It feels so lovely on your skin. And then also, if you like, you can add some cocoa butter. You don't need to. It calls for a cup of the shea butter. I tend to use close to a cup of the shea butter, and I'll throw in a little bit of the cocoa butter. I don't want to use too much cocoa butter because, smells so good. It's quite hard. So sometimes your end product will be a little bit too hard, whereas the lotion bar, you like it to be able to glide. Or you're off on your measurements and you use too much beeswax, it can affect the end product. So I just reuse a canning jar and I kind of make a double boiler with a heavy bottom pot and kind of have it on low once the water heats up, and you just stir it occasionally just until everything is melted, and the beeswax will take the longest to melt, and the cocoa butter, but takes a few minutes. And then I will pour it into these molds and let it set, and voila, you have a lotion bar. I'll show you what that looks like when it's all done. This is just about done. It really doesn't take very long once your water in the pot is up to temp. Maybe 15 minutes or so. No. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it comes off the stove. It's all liquefied. So you just want to be careful for two reasons. It's very hot. And secondly, use something to kind of dry off the outside of the jar so that when you're pouring it, you're not getting any moisture into your product. And then from there, just take and fill up your little molds without trying not to make it too much of a mess like I just did there. Oopsies. Boy, I'm really messy today, just because I'm filming. So this recipe makes quite a few, and like I said, one lasts a long time if you're just using it as chapstick or on dry elbows or knees or feet. So there I've got 12 hearts, and this will probably just be enough for a little one in here. There, that's it. Then I'll just set these aside. You can see there. So another thing that I'm making today is a salve, a body salve. I also use this on my face. It's entirely up to you. Similar ingredients to the lotion bars, but there is, it's a little bit different. So I start with 1 cup of an oil. So you can use olive oil, you can use a sweet almond oil, something that is a liquid at room temperature. Now, typically what I have been doing for several years now is throughout the spring and the summer, when I'm outside foraging, I will forage for products and I'll bring them in and I will infuse them in usually olive oil, sometimes avocado oil. This is poplar buds that I actually harvested in the spring of 2023, and it would be very, very early spring or even late winter actually. So this is 2 years old already. Now, poplar buds have something in them that is more like a preservative, and so it keeps the olive oil from going rancid, which is really nice. And if you've never smelled poplar buds, when you walk outside in spring and all of a sudden there is a scent that fills the air and it just reminds me of spring. That is the poplar buds and the aspen trees and whatnot. That is their buds opening, and that is the scent. That is the scent. That to me, it's the scent of spring. Anyways, I have this from 2 years ago. I also have some other in the pantry from last year, and I thought, I love this so much, I'm gonna make a salve out of it, just to put on, just so that I can have that smell. A cup of this, and then I'm going to need half a cup of coconut oil, half a cup of coconut oil, half a cup of shaved beeswax or beeswax pellets. Now, it's not going to be an exact measurement. You want to get as close to that as you can. Again, if you have too much beeswax, your salve is going to be too hard, and I don't like that. If you have too little beeswax, it's going to be too soupy. If you make a batch of this though, and you find that you really do not like the texture of it, you can either add more beeswax or add more coconut oil or olive oil or whatnot if it's not loose enough. Sometimes what I do is I will make a batch and it all, you know, ends up in this jar. Once everything is melted, I will just pour a little bit out into a glass jar, and I'll just let it set up for an hour. After an hour in a regular, like, winter cool kitchen, not in the heat of the summer, you can go back to it. By then you can tell the consistency of it. And then if you like it, you can reheat this up again, because I'll turn my stove off and let this cool right down, so it will start to solidify just like the lotion in the jar. I'll heat this up again so that it's pourable, and then I'll fill my jars, and it's the consistency that I like. If not, then it's all in here. I can add more beeswax or I can add more oil to make it the consistency that I like. So anyways, I'm going to add some more products, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the jar before we put it in the pot on the stove. So I thought I'd show you me digging this out. So it's half a cup of coconut oil. So this is a 1/4 cup scoop. So I just dig it out with a spoon as best I can. This goes a lot smoother in the summertime when the coconut oil is a little softer, but it's not so bad. Okay, that's probably plenty, given there'll be some gaps down in there. To me, if I have a little bit too much oil, is a whole lot nicer than if I have too much beeswax. I don't know. It's I really do not like a salve that does not have a nice spreadable consistency. All right, so in here we've got that poplar bud infused olive oil, 1 cup of that. There is half a cup of coconut oil. To this I will add a couple of tablespoons, roughly, of shea butter. That's about a tablespoon. 1, 2, maybe a little heavy. That's okay. And now we'll set this aside and we will get busy. Ooh, I'm going to use up some of these just to make life easier for me today. So that's how much that is. So we're going to need some more beeswax. So I'm going to get a hammer and I will be right back. Okay, so I was able to chisel off a chunk, and then now what I will do is I will just, using a very sharp knife, I will just shave some pieces off as best I can. So it's kind of like that consistency. And then roughly fill my measuring cup. So that's a 1/4 cup, so I need a couple of those. So that'll go in. I've heard before on cooking shows that I wish there was such a thing as smell-o-vision, because the smell of beeswax and cocoa butter and some of these things and that poplar bud oil, oh, it's just divine. I love it. And I'll show you this. Willow likes it too. You gonna say hi? You gonna say hi? Yes. Willow loves lotion making day. She usually gets to lick the coconut oil spoon when I'm done. So you can see what I mean about it being a little bit labor intensive on this part. So if you prefer to buy beeswax pellets from Amazon, or if you're, you know, close to some place where you can get cosmetic supplies, then, you know, a lot of people might prefer that. This whole big massive chunk of beeswax I got from a beekeeper in our area. I want to say, oh gosh, it was pre-COVID, so probably 5 years ago, and it was double this chunk, and he charged me $5. So I'll put up with a little bit of discomfort for that cost. And honestly, it allows me to keep costs down for my customers. And sometimes, you know, that's a good thing, right? You buy stuff online, there's usually a cost difference for certain, because somebody had to do that work. So there's my second one. Hopefully I don't have too much beeswax. I don't think so, with the gaps and whatnot that's in there. So I will scrape up all these bits, throw that in there. Give my hands a wipe here. And that's what it looks like before it goes into my pot on the stove. Okay, so here is the salve that I've, the melted salve that I've, the ingredients that I've taken out of the pot. This is the one that I use the poplar bud oil in. Oh, it smells divine. So instead of filling a whole bunch of jars, I want to make sure that this is a consistency that I like. So I just have one 4-ounce jar here. I'm not even going to fill it all the way up. I'm just going to pour a little bit. That's plenty. And I'm going to let this sit. I'm going to let this sit for a good, at least an hour, if not more. And I'm just going to place that, this back in my pot of water on the stove until I'm happy, and we'll go from there. Also, I did look in a book that I've got here. This is an excellent book. It's written by Robert Rogers. It's called Herbal Allies. And This gentleman actually lived up in northern Alberta, not too far away from where we are right now. And he writes about, I think it's about 10 or 12 different herbs, plants, trees, whatnot. He even talks about bees and honey. But in here, he does a chapter on poplar. And I was just having a look in here, and each he goes in depth like you would not believe. And he goes back to the indigenous people and what they used these things for. And for the poplar, I mean, he goes from everything from the bark, the inner bark, the poplar fluff, the poplar bud. But I'm just reading here, poplar bud extracts have been extensively studied by Romanian scientists. They found 4 to 5% oil preparations and ointments help heal skin incisions, wounds, and burns. In the 70s, Soviet physicians used the extracts with great clinical success for bed sores, resident infections, and post-operative abscesses. The bud oil helps soothe eczema and psoriasis. So it sounds like it's good for skin conditions. I'm just reading another chapter here. Diaper rash, hemorrhoid swelling. So that is just the oil made into a salve. That only just scratches the surface of the medicinal qualities of the poplar tree in itself. I'm just dealing with poplar bud oil right now. Is that some good stuff? Does that keep your coat nice and shiny? Did that keep you beautiful?